Today, we're going to be talking about Amazon AWS. So what is Amazon AWS? Amazon AWS is a cloud provider, and AWS actually stands for Amazon Web Services. So whenever somebody says Amazon AWS, what they're really saying is Amazon Web Services. So what is AWS? AWS is a cloud provider, and that means that they provide servers, databases, and other assorted tools to you, the end user, that you can then run off of their systems located at a data center somewhere scattered across the globe. Amazon AWS is incredibly powerful. It is an incredibly nice set of tools. And in addition to that, whether you're a student or you're just trying to learn or anything like that, they're actually incredibly supportive whenever it comes to helping people get used to using the cloud, get involved in computing, and also use Linux. So we're going to go over some of the tools that are available to you if you would like to start building a remote system that you can then use whenever you're doing investigations, training, education, and a wide assortment of other things. And we'll also try to cover a couple of pitfalls that you might run into that if you do could potentially get you in trouble. We'll go over some of that as well, because we want to make sure that if you're going to use these tools, you do so responsibly and then you don't get yourself into any kind of trouble. What can we do with AWS? AWS provides just an amazing number of things that you can do with their products. They have EC2 instances, which are elastic compute cloud instances. Those are kind of like VPSs or virtual private servers. You can go in, you can create an EC2 instance, and then that EC2 instance is just like running a computer. And you can do it with many different operating systems. And you can also choose the level of performance that you want based off of how much money you're willing to spend. And if you have one of the accounts that we'll talk about here in a little bit, that also means that you can run certain EC2 instances for free. There are actually many different products that give you this free trial, in that you register your account, and then upon registering the account, you can then use their products as long as they fit within a certain level of, you pick the correct operating system and you pick the correct tools, and they guide you on this. You don't have to be worried about this or in any way concerned. They actually sit there and they'll talk to you through the process, which I'll demonstrate here in a little bit, because we're going to set up a free server momentarily that we can then use. With that said, they also have S3, which is a file sharing system. They have Amazon OpenSearch, which is a replacement created by Amazon for those people who want to use Elastistack. And then there's also Lightsail if you want just a standard VPS, which I actually have some Lightsail instances that I do personally use, but I don't really recommend. So can we use Amazon AWS for educational purposes? And the answer is yes. What I have seen as an educator and somebody who works within the college realm is that Amazon AWS has been incredibly supportive of people who want to use their services to learn how to properly use a VPS. We have run Shodan over Amazon AWS products. We have used Foundry servers. We've ran SearchX. We have run just a plethora of things that they have absolutely not had any problem with us doing so, and no complaints. Amazon, if you're willing to use their products responsibly, they will absolutely support you if you decide that you want to use their tools. The next thing that you might be concerned about is, can you use Amazon AWS to conduct actual security research? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can, with caveats. Mostly your caveat is you need to remember that you're inside of their playground. This is their data center. This is their tools. What you don't want to do is you don't want to be disruptive. What you want to do is you want to remember that you need to be cautious about what you are doing with their systems. It is their playground. It is their front yard, and you are only there to play inside of it. Yes, you paid a fee to have access to these tools, but you have to remember the best thing that you can possibly do is be respectful. So that means if you're going to be setting up 2 servers and then attempting to conduct a distributed denial of service attack from one box to another box, can you do this? Yes, within a reasonable amount. You can actually practice certain types of attacks, and you can practice certain tools as long as you are not being disruptive to their systems, you're not attempting to attack your fellow users of that system. There are rules in place that you have to follow, but if you are following those rules and you are attempting to learn how to do security research, Amazon is not going to stop you from doing that, and they're not going to shut you down. So these are things that you should keep in mind. What do the bad guys want with your account? You can use the systems to stand up any number of resources. The sky is kind of the limits, and there's not a lot that you can do to prevent somebody who has root access to your account from being able to cause an incredible amount of damage. So it's very, very vital that you take care of your username and your password, that you deploy two-factor authentication, and that you keep your information secure, because the bad guys do want access to your system, and if they do gain access to it, they will attempt to do things such as set up crypto mining. They will attempt to break into other people's systems. They'll set up spam boxes. There's any number of attacks that are available off of any kind of computer system. They're going to want to use the Amazon AWS ecosystem to execute those attacks, while leaving you to foot the bill and or to take the blame for it, since it is your infrastructure that's being used to attack others. So can you get free AWS access? Yes, you can. When you sign up for Amazon AWS for a first-time user, you can get approximately 1 year worth of service with no cost. In addition to that, that no cost, you need to remember that the caveat there is that no cost only applies on systems that have been authorized by AWS as no cost. So when we take a look at the EC2 instances here shortly, I will show you what I mean by that, because they will be demarcated as free, and if you try to stand up something that is not free, they will also warn you about that. So how do we get started? Well, the very first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to sit down and we're going to set up an EC2 instance. So as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, I have my EC2 instance as a recently visited item under the console home. If you do not see this, that's okay. We can go to services, and then again, I have bookmarked the EC2. If you see here, there's a small star that you can choose, and then every time you pick one of those stars, that will automatically pin it to the top. So I did that quality of life improvement, right? Click here on the search here to search for services. We can type EC2. We'll see EC2 comes up as the #1 service here. We will click that. I'm in North Virginia right now. You have an array of places where you can stand up systems. Most of the foreign ones, if you are a US citizen, are going to cost you a significant amount more worth of money to stand up. I don't recommend doing it. North Virginia is a good choice. Ohio, Northern California, or Oregon. Depends on where you live. Obviously, if you are on the East Coast, you may want to look at North Virginia or Ohio. If you're closer to the West Coast, you'll want to pick North California or Oregon. For the purposes of what we are doing today, we're going to be using North Virginia. You will see I have no instances running, but I have set up instances previously, which is why we have key pairs, a grand total of 3 key pairs. So the first thing that I normally like to do is I set up my key pairs first. If you look here on the left-hand side, there's a ton of information available to you related to choices that you can make. The first thing that I want to do is go to key pairs. You can either do it here or here. We click key pairs, and I'm going to create a key pair. My key pair, I'm going to call it AWS training video, and we'll just put some dashes in there. The next thing that we do is we need to choose between the RSA or ED25519. If you're running an older operating system, you'll need RSA. I recommend using ED25519 whenever possible. And then you need to choose, do you need a PPK file? That's for my Windows users. If you're going to use something like PuTTY, you'll need a PPK, or a PIM file. I want a PIM file. You can also add tags. If you're going to have an account that uses a lot of different SSH keys, you'll want to add tags, but for the purpose of what we're doing today, we will not add a tag. And then I'm going to create a key pair. Having done so, you'll see that the key pair has automatically been saved. And in addition to that, that key pair is now being shown here. So I'm going to go to instances. I'm going to launch an instance, and I'm going to make my page full screen. So I want to use Ubuntu for the purposes of this video. So I will hit Ubuntu, And now you can see that there are a whole bunch of different servers that are available here by way of image or Amazon machine image. Ubuntu Server 2204 LTS is our latest long-term support. You can choose to run it on an ARM server or on an x86. And if you look here, it says free tier eligible. Now, this is incredibly important. We care about this. If it is free tier eligible, then you will not be charged for it. If you use something like Deep Learning AMI GPU with PyTorch, now you're going to be charged for it. So we want to choose Ubuntu Server 2204 LTS. We're going to choose 64-bit, and we're going to select that one. Now, as far as instance families go, the T2 instance has a T2 micro that is free tier eligible. It's kind of like creating a Lego set, right? The first thing that we do is we go in and we find our image that we need to select. And then once we have that image, we then move on to the actual instance type. We make sure that it is free tier eligible. We are going to configure the instance. We only want one. We're not going to purchase a spot instance. What a spot instance is you can go in and you can make purchases to say, I want this instance, but I'm only willing to spend so much money. And if somebody is willing to sell it to you at that spot price, then you could potentially use that instead of the on-demand price in order to save money. If we're using free tier, we don't need a spot price. Okay, that's the next thing to keep in mind. Network will create the default VPC. We don't have a preference for subnets. We're going to just auto assign a public IP address. And then our shutdown behavior, we're going to actually set this down to terminate if we shut this box down. So if we completely shut it down, it just automatically terminates. The reason why I am doing this is because at the end of this video, I'm obviously going to just destroy the box. Next, we'll set to storage. And here you can see free tier eligible customers can get up to 30 gigabytes of EBS general purpose SSD, which is this right here, general purpose SSD. We can have 30 gigs for free, and I'm going to encrypt. So we're going to choose encryption here. In addition to that, we're going to make sure delete on termination has been checked, and then we're going to review and launch. And here we can see they have already set us up with a security group, and that security group exposes port 22 or SSH to the world. 0.0.0.0/0 means any computer on the planet can potentially connect to the system over port 22 in the event that they have the SSH key. So we're going to hit launch, and then we're going to choose an existing pair. I'm going to choose my AWS training video, and I'm going to acknowledge that I have access to this private key. So we will now launch the instance. The instances are now launching. We can then view that, and I'm going to set this up with the name of AWS training video, and the instance state is now pending. So we'll give it a few seconds, and then we'll be able to come back to this and start using it. Okay, the system is now running. We can see that here. I've named the system AWS training video. We have an instance ID. The instance state is running. We see that it is an instance type of T2 micro. I can refresh this page and we'll see what availability zone that we are in is. We will see our public IPv4 DNS. So you can use this DNS if you want to, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to use the public IPv4 address. I have not assigned an elastic IP or an IPv6 address to this box. We may do that later as I kind of explain some of the other stuff that you can do with Amazon AWS. But for now, you'll see over here on the right-hand side, I've already set myself up to be able to log into the machine. Upon hitting enter, I can say yes to be able to log in. Okay, and we're in the box. So the permission set that you need is chmod 600. If you don't know how to chmod, I will create a video about that, and we'll have a video on how to change SSH permissions. But in the meantime, all you need to remember is the command is going to be Charlie Hotel Mike Oscar Delta, so chmod space 600 space, and then the PIM file that you created. And by doing that, what you are doing is you're preventing other people from having access to that key on the box itself, and then you can use it with SSH-I AWS-training-video.pim, which is mine, and then space the username of Ubuntu at the IP address that is provided to you by Amazon. The reason why that we use the username of Ubuntu is every single Amazon image is going to have a default user, and you can Google it or use a similar search engine if you'd like to find out what that default user is. But for most Ubuntu-based box, the default user is going to be Ubuntu. Having logged into the machine, we can type htop, and we now see that we have a single CPU core. We have approximately 1 gigabyte of RAM, and then doing df-h, we can see we have an available hard drive space of 28 gigabytes. So now we have a Amazon AWS EC2 instance that is now running. And we're going to be able to use this for a wide array of exercises and tons of different fun things and lots of different learning opportunities. So if you're using Putty and you have logged into the system, you now have access to an Amazon image that is running Linux. If you're running a Linux box like I am, this is just another place where you can go in and you now have access to this system. So that's how you get started. Now, with that said, obviously there's going to be more videos coming, and we're going to work on building this system out so that we can do more things with it. And I'll show you all kinds of neat things that Amazon AWS can be used to facilitate whenever you're a student or you're learning how to do security research. Maybe you are a current security researcher who wants to improve their game and they just want to get better at what they're doing. I will show you how all of this can be done using these products. So with that said, I want to say thank you for watching this video all the way to this point. I will see you all next time. And please, if you get an opportunity, follow me and like the video. It helps tremendously. I'm working on trying to get up to 500 followers. So if you're willing to help me out for the information that I'm sharing, I would tremendously appreciate that. Have a great night and stay safe, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you all next time.